Welcome in everyone to the Props Podcast. NFL 2026, the season about a few weeks away, and what a time to be alive. College football season starting this week, week 0. We got NFL on the horizon. The perfect time to get into our season-long player props for the upcoming NFL season. I believe our third year doing this pod, if I'm not mistaken, but one of my favorite pods of the year, I'll say that much, just because I love getting into player props, whether it's for NFL, whether it's for NBA, and whatever the case might be. But we'll talk about close to combined 10 props. We'll also give our Super Bowl picks on this pod here as well. So definitely excited for it. Of course, I'm your host, Munaf Manji, but joining me as always, the return for the football season. It's Sleepy J. Sleepy, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing. It's been a crazy week for me. Kids went back to school shopping, running all over the place, trying to get some work done here so we can get some podcasts rocking our own. So it's just been a busy week, but I think I'll be pretty well handicapped after maybe another week or something like that. I'll be feeling pretty good. I'm getting close. And college is coming up at the end of the week, so
Yeah.
I'll yeah, I'm getting excited though. So that
Yeah.
baseball season will wear your ass out.
Yeah, it does. I know, obviously we've had a lot of conversation about the Cash That Ticket podcast. It certainly is a grind, especially with only baseball going on. I know Uncle Dave and I knocked out the win totals there as well. So that was fun to get through and add in some NFL content to that podcast. But we're now full force ahead for our football schedule as far as the pods go here. So as I mentioned, we'll be here for the props pod weekly when the football season does start, especially obviously for the NFL. And it'll be the same format as we've always had, right? It's worked very well for us. And I think that we'll continue that here on this podcast for the future. So we'll go through um, 5 different prop bets. Will be quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and a touchdowns prop. And then we'll wrap it up with our Super Bowl picks for this upcoming year. So let's get into it, Sleepy. Let's start with our quarterback props here. I'll let you lead off. Where are you taking us for your quarterback prop?
Jayden Daniels. I'm gonna go over 4.5 rushing touchdowns for him. I like him to go over this number because I feel that it's certainly too low for a quarterback who he's already shown that he uses his legs. That's a major part of this Commander's offense. He averaged 8.6 rushing attempts per game through his first 2 seasons. Had 148 carries, 6 touchdowns as a rookie. And even, during injury-plagued season there last year, in 7 games, I mean, he still had 2 touchdowns rushing. So um, I kind of think that this is a guy that not only does he like to use his legs, but he's effective when he does it. And there's a lot of situations I think that go into this prop. Number one, it's going to be a big issue for him with the loss of Laremy Tunsil. I think that that's going to be a big issue for him. He's going to be out, torn triceps, more than likely. He's done for the entire year. And the offensive line, it's already dealing with a little bit of instability. Recent reports have specifically identified that the pass protection with Tunzel is probably going to end up suffering quite a bit. They got a new guy coming in here, Brandon Coleman, and I think that that's going to matter to a quarterback like Daniels. When protection breaks down and he doesn't, have to go out there and try to force the football, you got to worry. Like there's a dude out there in Tunzel who's protecting your blind side. He's not there. You're going to get a little bit squeamish. That's just what I think. I don't think Daniel's going to be super cozy in the pocket here. And more importantly, Washington will use Daniels down at the goal line. If you back to last year, he had 6 red zone carries, and that's where his 2 touchdowns came from. My biggest concern right now, and I was looking at this before there earlier, Munaf. Let me read this off to you. This is actually quite surprising with the Commanders. Look at the beginning of their schedule. It's brutal. I don't think that there's a team in the NFL that's probably going to log more miles than this team. They're playing at Detroit. They just played them this week, preseason week number 2 on the road. Playing Baltimore next week on the road. They start the season out at Philly, at Dallas. That's 4 road games right in a row. Then they get one home game against the Super Bowl champs against Seattle. Then they have to go to London. So you're getting, what's that? 5 out of 6 games are on the road.
Yeah.
Come back home, you play the Giants, and you're all the way back out west to San Francisco. Like, this team's going to be extremely tired. And here's what I think. When you have a schedule that has that many road games in them in the beginning of the year, it's okay if you have pieces that you know inside and out. But there's a lot of new skill positions with this team. You have running back Rashad White. He comes in. You have Stephon Diggs, a wide receiver, what tight end, and Chigo Kongwa. Those guys are all, going to start at least Diggs and Okonkwo will. So you got to worry about timing. And I think, with the loss of Tunzel, new guys out there, you got to think like, hey, they certainly are going to lose preparation time with all these road trips. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniels looks to go ahead and run early and often because he just can't go ahead and get the timing, situated with all these new guys and stuff like that. And there will be busted plays, obviously.
Yeah.
I do worry about him being injured, and only playing 7 games last year, like maybe being a little timid to run, but are you going to be a little bit careful if your left tackle is out and you got dudes chasing you and maybe you just don't have your timing right? You're going to run. So 4.5 touchdowns for me doesn't sound like it's all that hard to do. I mean, he's already done it before. He did it as a rookie. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play him over the 4.5 touchdowns, and I found that one on DraftKings.
Yeah, and when you talk about these scrambling quarterbacks, I think that just expands the playbook for these offensive coordinators, right? You talk about the Josh Allens of the world, and Mariota is another example. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen Hurts is more, traditional, the tush push and things like that. But I think Jayden Daniels, just when you get down to the red zone area, whether you're within the 10-yard line or the 5-yard line, you want to be able to utilize his legs, right? Because I'm not completely sold on the wide receiving group of the Commanders here, right? Yeah, you have Scary Terry, you added Stephon Diggs, Luke McCaffrey, and again, it's another new offensive coordinator for this Commanders team. So I think for the Washington Commanders offense to be dangerous, or at least keep the defense honest, that Jayden Daniels is going to have to use his legs here. So I think asking him to do or again to 5 touchdowns, like you mentioned, he had what 6 in his rookie year. He had 2 in 7 games last year before he did get injured there. But I think that's just another a weapon at the disposal of the Commanders' offense there, especially inside the red zone for his scrambling ability. All right, for my quarterback prop here, I thought this number, I had to do a double take here, and maybe there is a little bit of reasoning behind it, of course, but I'm going to go Kyler Murray on his passing yards to go over 3,049 and a half. That's currently over on DraftKings for this upcoming year, right? And I know I've talked a lot about this, whether it's been the NBA or whether it's been NFL, that just having a scenery change can do a lot for a player, especially at the quarterback position, right? Because Arizona, let's be honest, since Kyler Murray got there, hasn't been very good to say the least. But when he's been healthy, he's been a very, very good quarterback, at least throwing the football. And now you get to pair him with 2 key points or 2 main guys here. Number one, Kevin O'Connell, obviously the head coach. I don't want to say he's a quarterback whisperer, but I think he has a great offensive mind. And then you get to pair him with one of the best wide receivers in the game in Justin Jefferson. You also still have Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson there as well. They picked up Jawan Jennings as well. I know last year that he only played in 5 games and only threw for 962 passing yards. And health has been a little bit of a concern, or a lot of a concern, I should say, for Kyler Murray since the 2022 season where he played in only 11 games. But in those 11 games, he still threw for 2,300 plus passing yards. He played in 8 games for the Cardinals in the 2023 season, threw for close to 1,800 yards. But you also take a look at some of the quarterbacks that have played under Kevin O'Connell and what they've been able to do throwing the football, right? So last year there was a a little bit of a quarterback carousel just because of injuries as well, right? You had JJ McCarthy who played in 10 games and he still threw for 1,600 plus passing yards. And we know the story of JJ McCarthy. Carson Wentz last year in 5 games threw for 1,200 plus passing yards. Max Brosmer, okay, we know the story there about him. But you go back to the season prior, right? 2024, when Sam Darnold was there, he threw for 4,000 plus passing yards. 2023, when Kirk Cousins was there, he played in 8 games and he still threw for 2,300 plus passing yards. So I think the key, obviously, when we talk about these season long player props, and obviously when you are betting overs, it's always going to be health, right? I think that if Kyler Murray, let's just say he doesn't even play in all 17 games, I think if he plays around that 14 to 15 game mark this upcoming season with his Vikings team, I think he gets up and over this number of asking him to get 3,100 passing yards, where he's done it multiple times throughout his career. Last thing, like I mentioned, the last time was in the 2024 season. And I think they want to flex their muscles a little bit after a frustrating year last year and missing out on the playoffs, right? So again, a fresh start for Kyler Murray. You're with Kevin O'Connell. You got Justin Jefferson. You have weapons at your disposal. I think this will be a big year for Kyler Murray. So I like him to walk into 3,100 plus passing yards for his upcoming season here, Sleepy. Up, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was actually looking at some Kyler Murray stuff myself. This actually, this is probably a pretty good wager here. I don't think that he's had receivers of this caliber that can go deep. Like there's a lot of guys on this team that can go ahead and get you those home run type of shots, and I think that that's really going to help him. I was looking at the running backs from last year with this team because I was a little concerned. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, and then I think it was Scott. So they had a lot of receptions out of the backfield. That was my concern. So it looks like they'll be using the running back as well, which Kyler Murray's actually quite used to going ahead and dumping the ball off a little bit. So yeah, this number does seem a little low to me here. I think the change of scenery is going to do him some good, and there's a lot of pressure on him here, to go out there and do good because he'll end up getting sat, if things don't go ahead and pan out. So it's his job. It's his job to lose right now, but I mean, this got to be a much better situation. I mean, he has to feel so much better with this team than the last team that he had. So it wouldn't surprise me if he hits like 3,500 this year.
All right, so those are our quarterback props for the upcoming NFL season. Let's shift over to running back here, Sleepy. Where are you taking us for your running back prop?
All right, this is a scary one. I'm going under 12 and a half rushing touchdowns for Derrick Henry. I understand betting against Henry is just dangerous. Like, don't get me wrong. The dude's a monster. He's a beast. I root for this guy. He's probably one of my favorite running backs in the entire league. But at some point, I think his age, I think his workload, I think the changes that are going on around him are all going to matter. He's 32 years old. He's entering year 11. It's not like this guy gets hurt. He had one season where I think he only ended up playing like 7 or 8 games, but this guy has a lot of miles on him, regardless. And he produces, don't get me wrong, but I worry that maybe some of the age will catch up to him here. He scored 16 touchdowns last season, but I think that number is a little bit misleading. You go back to the second to last game, they played Green Bay. He went wild in that game. He had like 30 some, I think he had like 35 carries in that game, had 4 touchdowns. So I don't want to just say, oh, let's take that away. But, that's 4 touchdowns in one game. So it takes you from 12 right to 16. That game's actually quite interesting, too. That was a game that Lamar Jackson ended up being out because he had I think he had a back contusion or something like that. So it was on Henry. They were like, "Yo, we need you, dude." And they go out there, they win that game, they turn around the next game, and they lose, and they get bounced out of the playoffs by losing to Pittsburgh with Lamar on the field. And I don't know, like you kind of have to wonder, like with Derrick Henry, it's like I went out there and ran my ass off, 200 yards plus, 4 touchdowns, 35 carries. We win, and then we turn around the next week and we end up blowing everything. It's like, what did I do all this work for? Um, my biggest concern here, though, with Baltimore, it's the offensive line. The Ravens no longer have Tyler Linderbaum at center, and that's obviously the most important spot there on the offensive line when he's your top run blocker. I think that that's a big, big loss for them. They also lose their tight ends in Isaiah Likely. He's off to the Giants, and they lost Charlie Kohler. Both of those guys are very good run blocking tight ends. I really believe that that's one of the reasons why Isaiah Likely stayed on this team for a number of years, even with Mark Andrews out there. But now you got Mark Andrews. He's another year older too. He's not as effective as a blocker as the other two tight ends, so that worries me. They also lost their fullback in Ricard. So there's a lot of blocking, I think, with this team at the center, tight end, and fullback spot. That these guys had a lot of continuity over all these years because they've been together for a while. I think that that probably hurts Derrick Henry for sure. My other issue here with Baltimore is that they have a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach.
Yep.
You have to wonder, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to just run Derrick Henry over and over and over again? Um, I just don't see that probably happening. I looked at Baltimore's schedule and I wanted to see like how many games were they going to be favored by seven. I think it was 7 points or more, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot, so I don't see a lot of blowout games where you can just go ahead and give Henry the rock there and go ahead and grind the clock down a little bit. So I have that. I also have the fact that last year there were tougher rushing defenses that Baltimore played. Actually, no, that's the other way around. They played less good rushing defenses last year than they will play this year. It's only by like a game, but I still think it's something to kind of note. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play him under 12 and a half. I just think that there's a lot of things working against him here. Like I said, the age, the offensive line, new coaches, um, some tougher run stopping defenses, and I don't think they're gonna end up blowing a bunch of teams out this year. So. That was my handicap here. So it's going to be under 12 and a half touchdowns. His yard, I mean, he could still get 1,300 yards and go
Yeah.
over his rushing prop, but I think that the touchdowns might be a little bit tough. So I'm going to do that. Yeah,
It's
I'll
yeah,
do that one.
yeah. Look, the numbers are definitely the argument is on the over, right? But again, we when we talk about running backs that at some point you're expecting them to fall off of the cliff. We're also kind of waiting for that for Derrick Henry. But also you take a look at his usage, right? Like the 2 years that he's been with Baltimore, he's had 300 plus carries. So we just don't know what to expect when it comes to, like you mentioned, right, a brand new offensive system that's coming into this Baltimore Ravens team after Coach Harbaugh, and the Ravens, I guess, mutually, quote unquote, agreed to part ways. And you also have a defensive minded head coach now. So that a lot of that responsibility offensively is going to be on the shoulders of obviously the offensive coordinator and Lamar Jackson. Um, so yeah, this one does make me a little bit nervous just because, again, you know me, I'm a numbers guy and the numbers don't support it. But it's also the fact that he's played in all 17 games of the last 3 years. At some point, you may see Derrick Henry miss a game or two here as well. And I'll be very curious to see if they get Justice Hill more involved in the offense as well, right? Because he's done a very good job receiving that. I think you and I, we talked about him a lot on the pod, on the props pod during the weekly pods that we do about his receiving yards, and maybe he's getting a little bit more involved as well there. So um yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm also going to go with a scary under here. I think that obviously there's a lot of love for this guy coming out of the college career that he did have, but Jeremiyah Love to go under his rushing yards for this upcoming season. That number currently is right now is sitting at 774 and a half for the upcoming year, currently over on DraftKings. So let's start with the running back room here for the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, we know the Cardinals are coming in with a win total of what, 3.5, 4.5 for these for this upcoming season. But you take a look at the depth chart, and I was surprised, but I guess I wasn't surprised at the same time when they drafted Jeremiah Love, just because they had some other needs as far as, more importantly, defense goes for this Arizona Cardinals team. But okay, it's Jeremiah Love in the backfield. They signed Tyler Algier as well in their backfield, and James Conner. I know he's dealing with an injury, and maybe at some point he does come back for the Cardinals, but. I just think that they're going to be trailing in too many games here. Number one, for them to run the football effectively. And when you're talking about a young running back like Jeremiah Love, I don't want to say you want to save his legs for his career, but it's more so that I just think that they're going to have to throw the football a lot and they're going to be trailing in this games because there was multiple times last year that within a blink of an eye, this team was trailing in the first quarter by double digits. And at that point, you really can't run the football, effectively and expect to win football games. And you also take a look at their schedule for this upcoming year, Sleepy, right? They have some tough rush defenses that they are going to go up against, right? Not only within their own division, when you have the Seahawks, you have the Niners, and you have the Rams there now with Myles Garrett, but you have games against, the Giants. Their front seven is going to be pretty good this year. You have the Lions in there, you have the Broncos. The Chiefs are in there as well, the Eagles. Um, so I think there's going to be, again, a matchup disadvantage for him for this upcoming year as well. And again, he's dealing with an ankle injury. He should be good to go by the time the season does start, but I think they'll be a little bit more quote unquote cautious with him. As far as, the number of carries that he does get, because he is dealing with the high ankle sprain as well, but it seems like he should be ready to go for the opening of the season against the Chargers there. So Jeremiah Love for me, I know there's a lot of love, no pun intended there for him in the fantasy community and for futures markets as well. But I'm gonna fade all that steam here, and I think maybe you can even get a better number closer to the season for Jeremiah Love. I was a huge fan of him, obviously, when he was playing with Notre Dame because it just took him a couple runs to get over his rushing prop when he was with Notre Dame last season. But I think this upcoming year, I think they'll be a little bit more cautious. And I think just from a game script perspective, for the Cardinals especially, I think it's gonna be a little tough for them. And you add the fact, as I mentioned, with Tyler Algier and James Conner back there as well. I think it might be a little tough for them to get Jeremiah Love up and over his number. So I'm going to go under 774 and a half rushing yards for Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like Love. I keep drafting him too, like in like mock drafts, just because he keeps falling to me in
Yeah.
certain spots. But I mean, you make a really good case. I mean, this division is not going to be easy. It's going to be a very difficult 6 games for this Cardinals team. I mean, they're not good. And I think the other thing there, Munaf, is that you can take a lot of pressure off your running back if defenses respect the quarterback. I don't think anybody's going to respect this offense. I don't think they're going to be respectful of the quarterback. They just don't have a whole lot of pieces right now. I mean, McBride, Harrison, I mean, I don't know, but I could see them just saying like, let's just get this team in the third and long all the time, and we'll just consistently beat them, load the box up, and start and stop Love. So I like him. I think that he's pretty dynamic, but you're asking a lot for a team like you were saying that's probably going to end up trailing so many games this year. They're not going to be able to run the ball, and why go out there and run this guy into the ground when the future of your, you know. I mean, it's going to take them 2 years to actually put a team out on the field that's going to be able to go ahead and win at least 7 games. At least that's the way I see it. So I'm with you, even though it scares me a little bit. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. So those are our running back props. Let's shift over to wide receiver for the upcoming NFL season. Sleepy, where are you taking us?
All right, I really liked this one yesterday morning, and I liked it prior days past because I did this handicap, and then the news came out about Keyshawn Boutte going from the Patriots to your Houston Texans of all teams. But I like AJ Brown. I like him under 1,125 and a half receiving yards. I really think that he's being overvalued. One going from Philadelphia over to New England. Here's my worry, and you gotta, and I know Philadelphia really well. I watch every one of their games. They have Saquon, they have Goddard, they have Smith, and they have Brown. Like that's it. Like they didn't have like a wide receiver three wasn't even talked about. Wide receiver four, they weren't talked about. So it was a small group of guys that were going out there and catching passes. And Brown, I mean, he's probably still going to be an elite receiver this year. I would assume so. But it was a really concentrated attack there in Philadelphia. He had 1,000 yards there, 121 targets. Say what you want. I think he's a little bit of a diva, but I think stepping into an organization like New England, who we know that they don't put up with that crap.
Yeah.
And you get a guy in Vrabel who, was born into that with Belichick. Like we do what we do, and that's why we do it. So if you want to cry and complain, we have no problem getting rid of you and bringing in somebody who's a problem child. Uh, that we could, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those situations. So I don't think that he's going to be able to go in there and complain like he did in Philadelphia. I just don't know how much more they're going to expect from this guy. I mean, this team reached the Super Bowl there last year. Drake May had an MVP season. Is he going to be able to do that again? I don't necessarily think so. And then you got to look at the crowded wide receiver room. Now Butte was there, but it was crowded before AJ Brown even got there. You got Douglas, you got Mac Hollins, you got Hunter Henry. You bring in Romeo Dobbs. Um, it feels like there, and you have Henderson and you have Stevenson. So it just feels like there's a lot of mouths to feed. And I think that Drake May, having all the success that he had last year with all those guys that were on the team outside of Boute's not there anymore, but he's gonna trust those guys. Like, do you really think they're just gonna take Douglas and just throw him on the bench and say, yeah, you're not gonna get any touches, or Henry, or any of the, or Matt Collins for that matter? I mean, yeah, they're not big time receivers, but those they were in the Super Bowl for a reason last year. Those guys made big catches. Drake May really, really depended on them. So I feel like, yeah, Brown's certainly the 1A, but I think he's surrounded around a lot of 2A type of guys. He's 29 years old. You got to worry a little bit maybe about legs and a change of scenery here. So I don't know. This number feels high. 1,125 feels high. I think maybe he can get to 1,000. Maybe he gets to 900. But um, I don't like the fact that he went from Philadelphia as a very concentrated attack. I'm telling you that it was, to one that's, this is just much much different, and they're not going to put up with his crap if he starts crying about targets. So they can get the job done without him. They got there last year. So yeah, I'm gonna go AJ Brown under 1,125 receiving yards.
So I do have an AJ Brown prop as well. It's my touchdown prop, so I'll go ahead and touch on this as well. I think he's going to be very heavily utilized in the red zone there. So I do like his touchdown to go over 7.5. It's at plus money right now, currently both on BetMGM and on DraftKings. And a lot of the points that you did make, right? That it's a crowded wide receiver room. But you also take a look at what's going to be available, at least from a touchdown perspective, because as far as receiving touchdowns went last year, you mentioned the two guys that are not on this team anymore, Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs. Both of those two guys accounted for 10 total receiving touchdowns in that offense last year. Right now, you bring in a big target like AJ Brown, where maybe he doesn't get the yards, but how do you keep a receiver quote unquote happy? Is you feed him in the red zone and get him those touchdowns. And we've seen right preseason, but more so again how much you really take away from practices and training camp that he's been a big target for this team in the red zone there. And you could also say that this is probably the best quarterback that AJ Brown has played with in his entire career thus far. So I think the red zone targets will be there. I think that just goes well into what you like about the under, that maybe the yardage won't be there for him for the upcoming season. But I think the one consistent part about AJ Brown has been that he's been able to get the touchdowns throughout his career, right? In the 2 seasons that he was with the 4 seasons that he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, 3 of those 4, you would have gotten hooked on this touchdown prop because 3 straight seasons he had 7 touchdowns for the Eagles offense. But the last 2 seasons, he only played in 13 games, 13 and 15 games respectively there. But again, early in his career, rookie year, 8 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns in 2020 with the Titans, and he also had 11 in his first year with the Philadelphia Eagles there as well. So, and again, you'd mentioned the yardage, right? The last 2 seasons, it wasn't really there for him. I think that could continue here, but I do think the one part of it is that I think that he does get the touchdowns and the red zone targets for this New England Patriots team. So right now it's at 7.5. It's at plus 115, like I mentioned, both on DraftKings and on BetMGM there, Sleepy. But I think this is their number for your regular season receiving yards number. I'm seeing 1,124.5. I think that's going to continue climbing here. So I would probably wait close to post if you wanted to bet this one, that you get even better number on that under there. So You'll take the under on the yardage. I'll take the over on the receiving yards. And then when he comes into, and we look back at the end of the season that he had 1,400 receiving yards and only 4 touchdowns, and we'll laugh about it at the end of the season there. So there's that. So all right, so I gave my touchdown prop. I'll go back to my wide receiving prop, and then you can give your um, touchdown prop. So for my wide receiving prop, this was another number I was very confused by, or at least made my head scratch and I had to do a double take. DJ Moore, 824 and a half receiving yards for the upcoming season. Now with the Buffalo Bills, of course, a team that hasn't really had a number one wide receiver since Stephon Diggs was there for this Buffalo Bills team. It's been a lot of Khalil Shakir and so on and so forth for the Buffalo Bills, right? And it's been it's been having to be wide receiver by committee for this Bills receiving group. And a lot of it has been, especially go back last year, that two of your three guys that were leading this team in receiving yards were tight ends. It was Dalton Kincaid, who played in 12 games, had 571 receiving yards, and then Dawson Knox, 417 receiving yards, which, again, is not very pretty when you have a guy like Josh Allen. Obviously, a lot of that was because James Cook had a lot of success on the ground last year, where he had 1,600 plus, rushing yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground. Josh Allen also had 14 touchdowns there as well on the ground. But you also take a look at DJ Moore's career numbers. He's just been a target machine in his career, right? Since his rookie year, he had 118 or more targets from his time in Carolina, all the way to the 2024 season with the Chicago Bears. Now, last year, he did take a little bit of a dip where he only had 85 targets. But again, last year, we saw a lot of love with Colston Loveland and that tight end group there. Luther Burden came on. So they had some weapons there, and that maybe took away from DJ Moore. But now you get to go over to a team in the Buffalo Bills that was again very desperate for a number one wide receiver in this offense with Josh Allen. Can he walk into 825 plus receiving yards? Absolutely, because again, you could also make the argument that this is the best quarterback that DJ Moore is going to play with in his entirety of his career. But you also take a look at what the 7 seasons that he's played, 8 seasons that he's played in the NFL. He's gone over this number in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 8 seasons. The 2 years that he didn't was the rookie year, 788 receiving yards with Carolina, and the last season I mentioned, he only had 682 receiving yards. So for a guy that I know that is going to get the targets, I know that there was a little bit of quote unquote scary injury that he did could have been a lot worse than it was in his first preseason game for the Buffalo Bills. But I do think that him and Josh Allen are going to have a big connection here. I think this could be potentially your quote unquote alt play of the season, where you could take this up to 1,000 plus receiving yards to get some nice plus odds. But I do think this would be a big year for DJ Moore, just the fact that he is with a team that has a MVP quarterback and a team that was very desperate to find a number one target in that wide receiving group. So I'm going to go DJ Moore over 824 and a half passing yards. You can find this one over on DraftKings. BetMGM also has it for a yard higher at 825 and a half. There, Sleepy.
Yeah, I'm down on the Bills. I hope you hit your prop here. I don't know why. I don't like their wide receiver room at all. I think this team's just wildly overrated. Every year they're the darlings to go ahead and win the Super Bowl, and they just consistently keep coming up short. Um, I don't know what it is with this team. I keep hearing people saying that they're the best team in the league, second best, third best team in the league. I actually have them like 10th. That's just my personal opinion, and it's because that's constantly where they seem to go ahead and finish. So,
I mean, last
uh,
year with this team, it was the opportunity for them to at least get to the Super Bowl because the Chiefs didn't even make it last year because that's been the team that's been a thorn in the side. But again, they just couldn't get it done again. So they're a great regular season team. It's just the fact that can they get to the Super Bowl has been the big question mark for this team.
mhm.
All right, so you want to give us your touchdown prop, and then we'll get over to I think our Super Bowl picks then. Or sorry, yeah, go
But
ahead.
we got
Oh,
tight
tight
end
end. I'm sorry, I
props.
forgot. Yeah, tight end prop.
You want me to do tight end prop now?
Yeah, go ahead and do tight end, and then we'll get down to your touchdown prop.
All right, I'll be pretty quick with this one. I could do tight end and touchdown prop probably together here. I'm going Kyle Pitts over 69 and a half receptions. It probably looks pretty easy because this dude had 88 catches there last season. Atlanta loses a lot there, though, from the team there last year. Darnell Mooney, Tyler Algier, David Stills, Ray McLeod, Casey Washington, Kadero Hodge. Those guys combined for 79 catches last year on 162 targets. So they got to go somewhere. Are they all going to go to Drake London? No, I don't believe so. I believe Pitts, was he was told like you're a big part of this team. If he wasn't, why would they give him a 3-year deal, $54 million extension? So they're telling him that he's important. It felt like to me that he kind of had his breakout season there last year, and I know Penix was all banged up. He just got cleared to go ahead and go ahead and play full contact there. But you bring in Tua. If you look at Tua, this guy gets rid of the football faster than anybody out there. And one of the reasons why I really like this play is because I think Tua will play at some point this year. He might actually start the season and end up getting sat for Penix. Maybe Penix will start, who knows. But if Tua is out there, it makes me like this prop quite a bit because he just gets rid of the football so quick. And Kyle Pitts in the beginning of his career, do you remember a lot of people saying he's like a wide receiver that's a tight end? Well, he was running routes like a wide receiver. He was running like 15, 14-yard routes. It shrank down considerably over the last couple of years. Last year, 7.4 yards per route run for Pitts. So he's slowly, getting closer and closer to the quarterback, and this is certainly a quarterback you want to go ahead and get close to with Tua. Last year, this team they played a lot of good pass defenses. They play a couple less there this year. 7.5 win team total. So I would expect, a bunch of games where they're gonna have to go ahead and throw the football there. 70 catches, it's only four per game there. I kind of like this. I think that they lost a lot of production there, and you bring in Stefanski. We know he likes to use tight ends. Like that's just one of the things
Yeah.
with this guy is he likes to use tight ends. So I think there will be plenty of game scripts where you're gonna have to use a tight end, and he'll go ahead. He'll throw some stuff there to the tight end. I'll do my tight end or my touchdown prop here to Munaf.
Yeah.
I'm going with how do you say his name? Tetairoa McMillan.
Yeah, we go by Ted McMillan to make it easier.
Yeah, Tet McMillan. Over 6.5 receiving touchdowns. The number feels a little bit low for me for a receiver who already showed as a rookie that he can already go ahead and he can get to this number. Had 7 touchdowns there last year, 70 catches, 1,000 yards. I think that's important for someone who has shown like, hey, I can go out there and get the job done. But generally, like year two, year three, that's really where these receivers go ahead and they tend to go ahead and make a little bit of a leap here. His production on the field was very good. He only had 8 drops there last year. Um, the coaching change interests me a little bit. You have Brad Izik taking over play calling duties there for Dave Canales. Izik isn't necessarily some outside coach installing a completely different offense. He was Carolina's offensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons. What the fuck does that even make sense? No, that doesn't make any sense. Hold on. I worded that wrong. My bad. All right, I know where to cut that. And the running game doesn't scare me away from this either. Chuba Hubbard, solid back, but is he really like a guy that's going to go ahead and be the guy that they're going to try to use in the goal? I don't know. I just feel like the running back room there for the Panthers is going to end up being like kind of like icky,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. It's like do we want to trust these guys? Um, yeah, I'm going with McMillan over 6.5 touchdowns. I certainly think he gets to number 7. Clearly, the number 1 in the fantasy market really likes this guy this year too. So basically, where he's being drafted in the fantasy market, it's I mean, he should go over his yards and his touchdowns. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play him over.
Yeah, again, it's He really came on in the second half of the season last year for the Carolina Panthers, especially when they needed to pile up the wins, um, for a division push. And again, now getting a little bit more comfortable in the offense for this Carolina Panthers team, and obviously with Bryce Young, I know they had some, I guess, quote unquote quarterback carousel, or giving Bryce Young a week or two off to kind of get his head right. But I think there'll be a little bit more consistency when it does come to Ted McMillan for this upcoming year, right? Because it was a little bit scattered at the back half of the season there. But the touchdowns came on for him in the end of the year after their bye week, where he was really good for them. Obviously, the clear number one wide receiver there for the Carolina Panthers. And like you mentioned, with that running back room, Jonathan Brooks is getting a lot of love in the fantasy community, but he's coming off of torn ACLs, and Chuba Hubbard, he's going to get his as well. But I think there's going to be another team that may be trailing in games. That also they're going to be forced to throw the football there for the upcoming season. Again, Tech Millen, again, a big guy, a big red zone target for this team as well, right? 6'5", 212 pounds. So again, that just gives you giving those fade routes or those one-on-one jump balls. I think Ted McMillan would win those more times than not. For this Panthers team. All right, so let me give my tight end prop here for the upcoming season, and I'm gonna go with Colston Loveland. I mentioned him earlier for the upcoming season. I like his receptions for this upcoming year, but I didn't see that number yet. But again, I'm gonna go with his receiving yards to go up and over, and same number as DJ Moore, 824 and a half, coincidentally. But the one thing that is talked about a lot leading up to preseason and the season is that Ben Johnson came out and said that they want to be the highest scoring offense in the history of the NFL. And you take a look at what Colston Loveland did last year, especially at the tail end of the year, as far as getting targets. He had double-digit targets in the final four games of the season. That's including the playoffs, right? So 10, 13 in the final two regular season games. He had 15 targets in the playoffs against the Packers, 10 against the Rams. And you take a look as well, right? His receiving yards number last year ended up at 713. And I know a lot of that came at the tail end of the year. We just talked about DJ Moore no longer there, so that's another 100 plus targets that do open up for the Chicago Bears. A lot of, I think, consensus right now, Colston Loveland is tight end three when it comes to the fantasy community after Bowers and also, of course, Trey McBride. But I do think this is going to be a big year for him going into his sophomore year here in the NFL, right? And when Ben Johnson, especially a head coach, when he says that he wants to have the highest scoring offense, I do think that they're going to be throwing the football a lot with Caleb Williams. I know Kyle Monangai is dealing with an injury for the Chicago Bears there, but I think this is a season where we could see Colston Loveland again be a tight end that has 1,000 plus receiving yards for the upcoming year. So I expect those targets, Sleepy, to be in the triple digits. Last year he played in 16 of the 17 games for the Bears, and it was really promising to see that he had 193 receiving yards in the two playoff games last year for the Chicago Bears. He averaged 12.3 yards per catch during the regular season, 16.1 during the playoffs there. So I think that the arrow is up right now for Colston Loveland. So I'll take him to go up and over the number of 824 and a half receiving yards for the Chicago Bears offense, and Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson for the upcoming year there, Sleepy.
Yeah, he pissed me off there last year, so I was super high on him in my fantasy draft. Ended up taking him, and I think it maybe might have been like week four, week five. I ended up dumping him, and I was kicking myself in the ass, like you were saying later on in the year. I'm like, oh man, I could really use this guy right now. I was fishing for tight ends near the end of the year, so it's just overreaction by me. I guess I called it right, but certainly not in the beginning of the year. I think he's going to be dominant. I think he's certainly top five capability, and
Yeah.
if that's the case, he's going to go over this one. So, yeah, I think he has a big year. If I have the opportunity to go ahead and draft him this year, I'm certainly going to do it again because then I'll even be more pissed. So I'll feel like I got a little redemption if I go ahead and draft him and he has a big year again. So that's I'm with you.
All right, so those are all of our props for the upcoming NFL season: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and touchdown prop. Before we do get over to our Super Bowl picks for the upcoming NFL season, pregame.com, a lot of great things happening. Of course, it is football season, so you know what that means. We have some free contests. I'll get to that momentarily, but coupon code PIGSKIN20. PIGSKIN20 gets you 20% off of a early bird NFL and college football season all access package. Right now available for $875. But again, if you use that coupon code PIGSKIN20, that'll knock off 20% off that price and get it down to $700 with that coupon code PIGSKIN20. Again, a lot of pregame pros that do both college football and the NFL. I know Sleepy does it. I know Uncle Dave does it there as well. They've had a lot of success doing it. So right now, if you want to get on the early bird package, this would be the perfect time because guess what? Week 0 is officially here. It starts this weekend in the college football. And before we know it, it's going to be the NFL season starting up as well. I know we still have preseason going on. So don't waste your time. Get on it. Pregame.com, hit buy picks, find that early bird NFL and college football season all access package. Price right now, as I mentioned, $875. But again, for listeners of this podcast, if you use that promo code PIGSKIN20, you can knock off 20% off of that price and get it down to $700. That's every single pick all the way through the Super Bowl and the college football playoffs from your favorite pregame pro over there at pregame.com. And then also the free contest, King 2026 top 10 places win. So the contest runs from the Hall of Fame game, obviously that was earlier in the month of August, all the way through the Super Bowl. It's pretty simple. It's 100 pick minimum. It's 400 picks maximum. Top 10 places win. So first place to third place will get 200 bulk dollars each. Fourth place gets 100 bulk dollars, and then fifth place to 10th place gets 50 bulk dollars each. So top 10 places win. Enter today. It's absolutely free to enter. There's no cost, there's no buying, there's no nothing. It's absolutely free. FREE. Just go to pregame.com and click on the contest tab and then select the NFL Contest King 2026 contest over there at pregame.com. As I mentioned, it's already been started. Preseason's rolling. And again, right now, as I mentioned, for free to get in. Top 10 places win over there at pregame.com. All right, Sleepy, let's get into our Super Bowl picks for the upcoming season. Who is going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of this NFL season?
All right, once and for all, Cincinnati Bengals. I got them winning the Super Bowl here at 20-1. I like the Bengals there quite a bit. I liked them over the last couple years, but we'll go back to last year. Joe Burrow ends up busting his toe up, and the season was just pretty much derailed. But with Burrow, we know that this team is very good, at least on offense. You got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins. I think another year of Chase Brown in the backfield. I think that that's certainly going to end up producing a top five offense. Now they bring back their entire starting line, which I think that that's a good thing. I mean, I understand that that they had a it's kind of a stigma that they couldn't protect the quarterback and Burrow was getting killed. But last year they actually weren't all that bad. This team has improved. They got one of the best blocking rookies in the draft there last year, and he's going to end up being a big part of that offensive line. I think that he'll be okay. The defense last year, yeah, it was a disaster. I understand that. And look, you're going to bring in Dexter Lawrence. Is he going to fix everything? No. But I think that the Bengals needed to address their defensive issues. And they went out there and they got like 4 or 5 or 6 different guys there last year, guys that are actually pretty good. So if you look at what Cincinnati did last year, yeah, they started out really, really bad on defense. And Al Golden went ahead and he was just like, let me finish the year out. I promise I'll go ahead. I'll get this team on defense to go ahead and play better. And they actually did. They played really well there at the end of the year. Now, you had a team that was improving on defense, and you bring in, a guy like Dexter Lawrence, a guy like Jonathan Allen. You bring those guys in. This defense will probably go, in my opinion, I'm going to say they were probably 30th or 29th there last year. I mean, they were absolutely brutal. They were terrible. Even if you can get them to mid-pack, I still think that that puts them certainly in the conversation. And we know that the Bengals, they trust Taylor, they trust Golden. I think that it was just one of those situations where, you lose your starting quarterback and the season was just really derailed. So I like this team quite a bit. I mean, I've liked them over the last couple of years, but I feel like this certainly could be their year. Again, like I told you before there, I was down on Buffalo a bit, but you don't want to be in the NFC this year. Like that conference is brutal. This is the easier conference to go ahead and get into the Super Bowl. I certainly think that. And I think Burrow and these guys on offense are just going to go absolutely wild. And I think that the defense is going to be much more improved. So I'm gonna play the Bengals now at 20 to 1 to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's a great case for the Bengals. It's crazy to think that now the AFC is a little bit more wide open than it's been in the past, right? Obviously, the Chiefs were dominating for so long, but that roster, quote unquote, has gone a little bit older, um, and it just kind of ran through the Chiefs now. So there's some vulnerabilities there right now with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's hard to go chalk here. Obviously, the Rams have a lot of talent, and I think they are the odds-on favorite here at plus 550. Patriots are interesting. I'm not sure if they'll be able to repeat the success. I did like the Chargers early on, but now their offensive line is just decimated right now with injuries. I mean, if there ever was a team that could, kind of surprise, I would probably think it's the Detroit Lions at 19 to 1. I think they're kind of flying under the radar here. 1 year removed from Ben Johnson. I think this was a little bit of a transition year from there for going to a new offensive system and a new offensive coordinator, right? And again, I'm banking on Jared Goff here to go out there and win a title. But I love their head coach, obviously, and Dan Campbell. They have talent on both sides of the football here, right? Jameer Gibbs, consensus number one as far as fantasy, and I think that it's going to be a big year for him. You still have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, as Isaac Tesla. And I think a lot of it just does come down to the defense, right? Hopefully, you have a healthy Aiden Hutchinson for the entirety of the year. But again, when we talk about the NFC, yes, it is the Rams. Obviously, with Matthew Stafford and Myles Garrett and maybe even Aaron Donald is there. If Aaron Donald comes back at some point, then those odds are probably going to drop down to maybe what plus 450, maybe even lower than that. But I do think the Detroit Lions are flying a little bit under the radar here. I know last year was a little bit of a down year for them, but now I think they've gotten things figured out. They're going to be healthy. Um, and I think that this is their time right now. So at 19 to 1, I don't hate it for the Detroit Lions team. I really tried not to go chalk at plus 550 for the Rams because for obvious reasons. But we just talked about the Bills. We're not really high on them. The Ravens, another team that's always up there that's very popular. But I would make a case just for the price for the Chiefs, Sleepy. I mean, could make a case for them. Obviously, when you have Patrick Mahomes, well, it seems like he's gonna be ready for Week 1 from all indications there. But the whole thing with Rasheed Rice, I know they picked up Kenneth Walker there as well. I just don't think they have enough offensively there. And again, I would not be shocked once Tyreek Hill is healthy and ready to go that he signs with the Chiefs and they get the band back together. But I think right now for me, I think it would be the Detroit Lions at 19 to 1 just off of the price there. So I'm on that one there. Lions 19 to 1 currently over on DraftKings.
I like that too. That was going to be my second pick, and then my third pick was going to be San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of the reason was, well, yeah, I don't want to take chalk, but I was looking for teams that are going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Like we're so close and we can't get it done. And I think that those three teams that I just named there, I think that those three are going to be, I mean, they're really going to be pushing hard. And then what threw me off of Detroit and San Fran was just like I was just saying before, the NFC is going to be a gauntlet.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, and I just felt like Cincinnati probably has the easier path in. But yeah, I'm with you with Detroit, man. I really liked them too. They were going to be my second pick, and San Fran was my third. So um, yeah, I'm excited, man. Really getting excited now.
Yeah, man, we're what a couple of weeks away from the NFL season kicking off, and we got preseason this week. I think the final week of the preseason for the NFL
I'm
before you get
trying to watch preseason. It's brutal.
yeah, it is, man. I think you'll probably get a starters playing a little bit more this weekend for week 3, so maybe at least get one half of the starters at least playing before we're officially on the countdown to September 6th in Australia between the Rams and the Niners here to kick off the NFL season. But I know we got college football this weekend, so definitely excited for that as well. But Sleepy, anything else for our listeners before we wrap it up here?
No, just yeah, stay locked in. We got a lot of podcasts coming up each and every week and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll getting back in the groove. I always start out slow, but I'll come out of the gates firing this year.
Yeah, that's excited for the football content that we're gonna have for the podcast form there as well. So rock with us as usual, and we'll be here all throughout the football season, whether it's college or whether it is the NFL. Um, yeah, I think that'll do it here. I think we'll be back for NFL Week 1 for the props pod, so look out for us then. I know the college pod guys are gonna. I think they're doing a pod this week for Week 0. Dream Pod, if you missed that with RJ, check that out. And then maybe Uncle David and I will do something on Friday for the NFL, maybe some futures or something. We'll work something up for you guys. But yeah, definitely excited. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Till then, good luck with your tickets. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.